Hey everyone. Okay, so we all like to criticize a lot of things in cinema. It's usually in terms of what movies we would hate to see exist, or just what films we hate in general. And of course, one of the prime examples are remakes. Yes, remakes, we don't want to see too many of them. We don't want to see a lot of them. We want to see more original ideas. Remakes really aren't what we all want to see in movie theaters, especially nowadays with how more common they want to be with studios. Because it's just a whole money thing, and yeah, a lot of studios just love to try and find things to remake. I mean, hell, look at Disney. They'll do what they want to take all their animated films and just completely reboot them. They won't give up on that until all their pennies from them are gone. I don't know. I'm really trying to hope that this whole remake phase will not be a ruin. Too many studios really need to realize what works best. Just copying something or thinking of something. Talked about this many times before. We all have. But anyway, I might as well go ahead and analyze the best examples. There have been remakes out there that are good, so it doesn't always fail. But for the most part, the ones that do fail do kind of prove that it's not the best idea. And I finally was able to round up a couple of my picks for what remakes I find to be just god awful. But here's the thing, I don't watch as many remakes as other people do. So this list is just from what I've seen. And there are a couple of remakes out there, especially more recent ones, that I haven't seen. So, for example, there is a huge number of Disney remakes that would be on the list, but that would require me to watch them, and I don't know if it's worth it. So, yeah, no. There's not really going to be many Disney remakes on this list. But also keep in mind, I'm only going to be looking at the remakes of films that I have seen. Because there also could be remakes out there that I watched that are from something I haven't seen. So yeah, this list is just going to be focusing on remakes to films that I have seen, films I saw that are good, or at least better than this remake. This is just a list of the remakes I think are really bad, plus, of course, inferior to the film they're remaking. That's kind of the best way to describe it. My list of my least favorite remakes of all time, the remakes that suck, and prove that we gotta do something better in Hollywood. Okay, let's just do this. All right, so Poseidon. You see, this is a case of a remake that I watched before the original. But let me explain. I wasn't entirely aware of the story at first. I didn't know what this movie was going for. Is it gonna be like another Titanic thing where it's a ship that sinks or whatever? Instead, what the story is about a ship that flips upside down. That I find to be incredibly stupid. I'm sorry. I just could not take a plot like that seriously. Like, entire ship just flips around upside down, and then everyone kind of has to grasp the situation, find air, get help, or whatever. I'm sure it makes sense to a lot of people, but to me, this movie doesn't help with its silly idea. I feel like maybe if they handled it better, like maybe if they had I don't know, the drama and the tension more exciteful, then maybe it'll work. But it's more modernized. Like they literally have Fergie on this ship. That's like, I don't know, man. It just, but with how stupid the plot feels, in my opinion, it doesn't help with how horribly rushed and unserious they kind of run to the plot. Eventually, I checked out the original film this one is a remake of, that the 72 film, and I know it has always been that kind of plot, but at least the 72 film handled it more seriously. Like, at least there was more tension and excitement with it. Like, at least I could look at the plot and actually, accept how ridiculous it is. That's not the case with this movie. This movie makes me realize that what I'm watching is one of the dumbest premises I could see for a disaster film. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm sure people enjoy the gimmick, but to me, this movie doesn't help with it. Oh yes, Planet of the Apes. When you think of a good Planet of the Apes film, usually you go back to the original one from the 60s, the very first Planet of the Apes movie. Or, of course, you look at the newest trilogy with all the motion capture creatures and whatnot. Those are the good Planet of the Apes films. However, one thing that people usually consider to be part of the either forgettable or just not good Planet of the Apes films are some of the sequels the original film had, as well as the 2001 remake from good old Tim Burton. Yes, Tim Burton, a man who I literally recently made a list of talking about how great he is, made a pretty bad remake. Yeah, this film focuses on the apes. It's the same story, except now these apes are created with more character, I guess. Their voices are more celebrity esque. We have like Helena Bonham Carter, Michael Clark Duncan, Tim Roth, etc. with the voices, and we're supposed to kind of create this drama and interaction more. Try to expand more on that. But instead, it ends up being super forgettable and bland. And Mark Wahlberg does not really do very good in this movie. I mean, I don't want to hate on him too much. He is a good actor in general. But it's movies like this that make you forget that because he is just so bland and unenjoyable in this movie. You forget most of his dialogue. You don't really get the emotions he's supposed to have. He's kind of on his own this time. The original kind of had it at two guys. It was two guys in the original, right? I mean, they did eventually end up with just one, but other than that, you at least knew that there was a story and an arc going for it. But not here. No, it's just Marky Marcus. In a situation that feels more rushed, all the dark colors and bright colors that don't really help with the movie's tension. It's kind of not much else I can say about it. I just couldn't remember it or get interest with it as much as I could for the original. So it just takes the original plot and tries to, I don't know, make the apes more enjoyable as characters, but it only comes off becoming more forgettable. And it wouldn't be until 2011 where the Planet of the Apes would show how awesome they really can be again. Ah, man, I just don't really think there's much else I can say about this movie. All right, so I did say that there weren't going to be a lot of Disney remakes on this list, and of course that's because I haven't seen many of them. One I did see is one that a lot of people happen to consider to be one of their better ones. People love the Jungle Book remake. Usually, some people even go down to say it's the better film. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I guess my issue with this remake is, I guess more the fact that it's just a bunch of CGI creatures in an environment with one kid. Now I know that's kind of how you have to remake it in live action, but I don't know, man. I just don't think the creatures in this movie with their celebrity voices really comes off as inspiring. Like when I hear Bill Murray's voice come out of a giant CGI bear, I just can't fall with it. Okay, I do not look at this as the kind of story that I can follow. All I think of is, wow, Bill Murray had worse time this than Garfield or whatever. And honestly, I also really gotta say that this Mowgli kid is a little annoying in this movie. Yeah, I'm sorry. This kid is unenjoyable. I guess you could argue he's no different than the original kid. The original kid was a brat too, but he was a brat in a way where you actually felt for him. I mean, he sort of had this kind of, I don't know how to say it, quietness to what he wants. He wants to stay in the jungle or whatever. He was quiet in a way. No, he didn't come off as too, he didn't yell a lot. He didn't, make us think, wow, I'm glad I don't have to deal with him or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like the original film's kid was, I guess I just gotta say, a bit more um tolerable, I guess is the word. This kid, however, is not tolerable. Okay, there's emotional moments, and then there's moments that just make me get so annoyed with him. I can't tell you, man. I just feel like all these characters in this movie just feel off-putting. It doesn't feel very real, like a real movie. It doesn't feel like a nice visual, vibrant situation here. I just couldn't get into this film with how ugly the voice acting on the characters is. That's kind of a weird way to say it or whatever. I just feel like this movie kind of didn't need this kind of remake style. I did hear about an older remake from the 90s that did do a better job. I haven't seen it, but I knew that it did a better job with making all the animals realistic animals. I mean, that should be a good way for doing a live action Jungle Book. I definitely would want to check that one out when I find it or when I get the chance to. Until then, all I gotta say is this remake did not please me. Okay, let me make one thing perfectly clear. Scooby Doo, the movie, is bad in a different way. When I say this movie's bad, I don't mean it's super unfaithful. It's the dumbest case. Because if I'm being honest, this actually is a really good film in terms of what it adapts. Well, sort of, I guess. Arguably, while the actors for Fred, Velma, and especially Shaggy are amazing, I will admit, one thing I wasn't really that much into was Sarah Michelle Gellar's performance. I don't know. I don't really think that her Buffy the Vampire Slayer or horror attitude really matches with Daphne. They kind of try to give her this new kind of personality in this movie, but I couldn't work with it. I don't really think that that really adds to the character. I know they want to try to make. I know they try to make her be something other than just a hot chick, but at the same time, they still establish her as that. So I don't know. And the kind of attitude she has, it doesn't really feel like the Daphne I would like. So if I'm being honest, every actor in this movie was good except for Sarah, in my opinion. And then there was also the visual effects. I know you're gonna tell me, dude, stop criticizing something that's old. It's old, okay? But like, dude, no matter how old it is, the point is it convincing? Because practical effects are convincing. You have puppets, you have I don't know, you have these sort of computer this things. There are ways you can make older effects convincing. This movie, however, it has some of the ugliest, not intuitive CGI at all. And I think it had to do with the fact that they tried to make more supernatural stuff happen this time. We all know the original Scooby Doo story is about them unmasking victims and learning the truth behind mysterious situations. But in this movie, they literally go all magical on us, and because of how bad the CGI is, I really don't think that they should have done that. The plot takes a very ugly turn. It's just kind of an ugly film, if I'm being honest. They also throw in Scrappy Doo, who looks hideous in this movie, and believe me, they tried to make throw a character arc with him that really wasn't needed or whatever. So, truth be told, I know a lot of people look back at this and say this really was a great adaptation. So, if I'm being honest, looking at it as a Scooby Doo film, I can perfectly accept. I will accept this as being a Scooby Doo movie. Though I don't think I can accept this as being a good movie. I'm sorry, but it just feels incredibly unintuitive. It's bad CGI. The Daphne performance, in my opinion, doesn't work. It just it's not a good movie. I'm sorry. I just can't say I like it. Okay, so now let's talk about something that really does take offense with its original thing. The Lorax, you could argue, shouldn't really qualify as much of a remake as it is an adaptation. Because the film is an adaptation of a book. That's a lot of movies. But at the same time, there is also the original cartoon film that was made that every Dr. Seuss story had. And for the most part, this movie does seem to take notice with that story the most out of every other Dr. Seuss feature. Because, like, unlike, say, The Grinch or Horton Who's a Who, where you can tell they were really focusing on the original book, this one does seem to kind of rely focus on what the original cartoon did. I don't know how to put that. I know every cartoon film adapted the book amazingly to where you can just say that with every film. But to me, the Lorax really does stick close to what this cartoon had. And it does kind of try to take the idea more towards the original screen thing. I'm making up words. This movie sucks. I'm sorry. I hate this movie, okay? The songs in this movie are all pop songs, and sorry to say, none of them really are actual good songs. They're just upbeat, exciting bits. You can tell me all you want. Oh, come on. How could you not like, I don't know, how bad can I be or whatever? Those songs are just, they're kind of redundant and annoying. They're not awful songs, but they really aren't that good. They're the kind of music you expect someone like Taylor Swift to sing, which is ironic because she's also in this movie too. Because yes, this movie is a story. It's supposed to be a story all about how corporate greed can result in environmental danger and is not something that we all can control, but is also something we all need to kind of learn from and get better with. But this movie is a corporate film. It has a stacked voice cast. It's made by Illumination, features all them comic relief characters. The animation is great, so I will say that. It is a beautiful film. However, it's also incredibly bad at telling its message. The message is done poorly in this movie. I feel like the problem is they make the Once too likable. I know he's not supposed to be a villain, but they really try to make us sympathize with him too much. They make the Lorax be the annoying one. I know he's supposed to be loud and obnoxious, but he's still supposed to be understandable. You're supposed to like him or whatever. But instead, we got this Lorax who's all supposed to be like, I hate you or whatever. So they kind of create this hate relationship with the two that for comedic effect or whatever. They also try to add more focus on the kids who learns the story's character by giving him a motive of a chick. He wants a tree for a chick. That they literally give him that motive so that he has a reason or whatever. But they really try to focus on that motive just as much as the one source story. So yeah, that's the problem. Such a unique and enjoyable story. I think it was arguably actually my all-time favorite Dr. Seuss story. Yes, I think The Works is actually my favorite Dr. Seuss story. And I hate how this movie takes it and make illumination-fies it or whatever, and just doesn't make it as unique as it should be. All right, so have I talked enough about this remake and why it sucks? I have. I don't even know what more I can say. It's not just because they're females. I know a lot of you like fans of the movie are gonna say that the only reason we hate it is because it's women. Here's the problem. It's unfunny women, okay? these aren't these actors are fine in other stuff, but in this movie, man, is the comedy unfunny. Not just from them. They have a lot of bad writers, but there's also jokes from other characters, like Chris Hemsworth. He's super unfunny too. There's cameos in this movie from the original cast. All of them are unfunny. There is a bunch of these weird CGI ghosts that are supposed to be fun new characters, but I don't know, man. I kind of miss the practical stuff. Don't we all? Still, man, this movie fails at really capturing the original's comedy gold. The original had the kind of comedy that made sure the story would still move forward. It was the kind of comedy that was funny, but also wasn't too much with the film's actual story. We were actually able to follow the story and still follow it smoothly without the comedy interrupting it too much. That's what this movie does. It takes its comedy, makes it a bunch of bits so that it drags the story on longer. And then when we do get to serious stuff, it's just stuff that doesn't make sense or whatever. They really just refuse to add logic or good pacing. None of that applies now. We gotta see if these four females will add some new fun comedy to the mix. Well, unfortunately, I just couldn't do it. No. Everyone agrees this movie really didn't need to exist. And even Sony decided to flush it down the toilet and just go back to the original basics when they made two extra sequels for the original film. Still, the fact that this does exist makes me have nothing else to say, but man, was it a total bomb. Okay, so here's another classic people look back at and praise. I know, I guess you can say why. We all want to try to make sure we don't try too hard to compare things to the original thing, source or whatever. But if it's a remake, you got to. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. As so it's okay. Yes, it's okay to just look at movies on their own. But if the movie is a sequel or a remake, truth be told, there is something you do have to remember from its original film. And apparently, Super Mario Bros., the original 90s film, does apply as a remake. This is a film that takes the classic video game everyone knows and loves and tries to cyberpunk it or whatever. Now, instead of it being about Mario and Luigi rescuing Peach from an evil dragon in a mushroom kingdom, it's about Mario and Luigi rescuing Daisy in a weird city underground where everyone's mean, messed up people, and the president needs her rock so he can merge their worlds together. It's cool to add new elements to kind of make a more new, realistic live action story, but those are not the kind of elements that can do that. because instead of the kind of realistic live actionizing the video game story, it instead just completely changes it and replaces it with something that's just as ridiculous. That's how I feel about this movie. I mean, I also think the idea of Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as brothers didn't work. I'm sure when you look at Bob Hoskins as Mario on its own, it sounds great, but the fact that we have to look at these two guys as brothers doesn't work. They really try to make them this father son duo instead of being brothers, more like, and they both don't really match this kind of good energy or whatever. Comedy wise, it's not the worst. There are actually some moments that were kind of funny, I guess. But then there were moments where apparently Bowser has these two sidekicks who are supposed to be comic reliefs or whatever. They're the Disney sidekicks. Yeah. Nah, man, we didn't need them. This movie really does just also kind of a poor job at adapting the game, as a lot of the other elements like name drops are just said in this movie. Things like Koopa, Troopas, Goombas, or Hammer, Fire Flowers, it's mostly just name dropped. They don't really give us those as much as they just name drop them. It's like this cyberpunk world, and you could only think of it as a Mario movie when you see the names of Mario things. Like, I remember when we were introduced to the city, I saw there was a bunch of signs saying things like hammers, womps, Koopas, all that stuff, and it's like, okay, so that's how you know it's a Mario film. Look, I'm just saying, yes, praising a movie without looking at source is perfectly good. It's the right thing to do. However, in my opinion, when it comes to something that is a remake or a sequel, or something that does actually mildly connect with its original thing, you do have to look at it both ways. And that's just what I feel like. I feel like if something is meant to be a remake, a sequel, spin-off, or something like that, then yeah, you do have to take into account what it's that of. And to me, that's what this is. It's a remake, and it really doesn't care what it's based on. All right, here's another Disney remake that I refuse to watch and regret watching. I regretted watching Aladdin. I mean, shouldn't everybody have? I don't know. I talked about this movie when I was talking about movies I hate but everyone else likes. Maybe there aren't a lot of people who do like this movie, but I do know a bunch that do, and I don't get it. Or at least that's just my opinion. I personally couldn't like it. I couldn't. Okay, I have talked plenty about it already. So what more can I say? Visually, it's ugly. Will Smith is the genie. God no. The plot way too long than it should be. That's all I can really say. I don't think I can make that stress that enough. The performances suck. The visuals look ugly. The music, I will admit the music in this movie was alright. That is the one thing I will give slight praise for, though only slightly. It's still not great compared to the original. So even then, that also doesn't work great. It's just a really bad movie, in my opinion. I think I've stressed that enough. Have I not? I don't know. Okay, now here's one movie I haven't talked about yet, and boy oh boy do I have some fun stuff to say about it, because my god, I finally came across the worst superhero movie ever, or at least the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. Fantastic Four, or as they like to call it, Fan Four Stick, because why not? That's catchy, right? Oh boy, where do I begin? Let's see. Our four heroes. Well, if you know the story, you know how it goes. Four heroes are sent to space, but then when they come back, they gain these strange powers that they then become a group from becoming a new superheroes. But now they have to take down Doctor Doom. Uh, that's their first threat, and have become the protectors of their city, the Fantastic Four. That's the story. It's simple and nice. This movie rushes it, but also ruins it. I will admit the original Fantastic Four movie wasn't really good, but at least it handled its story fine. At least the pacing worked fine, for the most part, I guess. And either way, even if that movie was bad, at least it was the best you can get for a Fantastic Four movie in compared to this one. So all I can say is that while that movie wasn't good, at least it tried. This movie did not try. we see them go to space, we see them come back with their powers, and then we just completely get rid of all the exciting action that we could have gotten from them, and instead rush straight into Doctor Doom's origin and just rush straight into them fighting Doctor Doom. And right after that, now they have a base, and now they end with them being like, "We need to come up with a superhero name. What do we say? I don't know." But man, all that stuff we did in this movie was certainly fantastic. I got it. Yes, we've all memed that ending. We all consider it one of the worst name drops ever. It's This movie's awful. And yes, to this day, I still think it is, without a doubt, the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. There, I see more superhero movies that could top this one as being god awful. Who knows? But until then, this one takes the cake. It's that bad, in my opinion. I'm sure we all can agree that this remake just didn't try at all. Okay, so what's this? Apparently, I watched this movie in a fun as a hate watch. Obviously, there comes these times during the summer or whatever when I want to just sit down, hang out with my dad maybe, and check out a movie we know is super bad and we know we never heard of before. But because it's available and because it looks bad, we can hate watch it. We can laugh at it, and that's what I did with this one. It's called The Last Shark, but it's also called Great White. But it's also called L'ultimo squalo, if I pronounce that right. It's an Italian movie. Apparently, can you tell what this is a remake of? It's an Italian remake of Jaws. Now, you could argue maybe it's just a ripoff, but nah, truth be told, from the sources, it is mainly meant to be an Italian version of the story. And yes, it is abysmal, like you would expect. And I'll tell you one thing about this movie that's hilarious. You know about all the shark attacks? They're explosions. Yes, there are a lot of explosions in this movie. This movie thinks that it can add terror by having explosions in the water just from the sharks appearing. It thinks it can have excitement by copying every shark position and movement that the original Jaws had. It thinks it can, make these stunts of people's limbs getting chopped off look convincing when obviously we know they weren't even trying. Clearly, not a lot of people would have seen this movie like I did, so I don't know really if I can say much about it that you would understand, hinting that you would have had seen the movie. All I really else can say is if you want to do a nice hate watch, find this movie. It is pretty bad, and you will have a fun time looking at this compared to Jaws and thinking, wow, why did they make this again? Apparently, after Jaws, everyone wanted to try and make shark movies. And for pretty much from what I've seen, I don't think a single shark film, has been good like Jaws. There's been some okay ones, but I don't think after Jaws has anyone attempted to make a actual great shark movie that can live up to Jaws' hype. And this is one of the prime examples, in my opinion. This shows that I guess Jaws is just one of those things that was amazing the first time, but probably isn't going to be able to be beaten or achieved as well any other time soon.